Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you're listening to this. It's Stuart Watson, and we're here for the latest episode of the Kings of Anglia podcast. I'm joined by the same duo that were with me at the back end of last week. To my right is Mike Bacon, and just below me is Ross Halls. Gentlemen, we were all at the game on Saturday. A 1-0 win against Plymouth. That was a really enjoyable day, wasn't it? How are we all?
Good.
Well, I'm not too bad, thank you very much, Stu. But actually, am I to your right or to your left? I'm a bit confused. Am I to your? I'm sort of. You're to my left. Yes, I'm to your right, aren't I? But you're to my left if you're looking at this on video. But if you're on audio, I suppose it doesn't really matter. I'm very well, thank you, Stu. I cut the grass. Got the grass cut Saturday morning before the big game against Plymouth, which was a delight. And I always like to get the grass cut. Don't know about you guys, but I think it's a very important part of the summer's here type thing. Clocks going forward and all that sort of thing. So yes, I'm very good. And very briefly, thoroughly enjoyed Saturday afternoon. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic day. I mean, if you went for the whole, it's like a day. It was a day out for some people, a real full day out. If you got there at 12 o'clock for the Q&A or 12:30, and you still watch the England game at 7 o'clock in the evening, gosh, I mean, there must have been lots of people who did that. What a great day out.
Ross, have you cut your grass?
I don't have a garden, so I can't do that. Sad times.
Oh. Okay. Have you tidied your bedroom?
No. Didn't need to.
Yes.
Didn't need to.
Okay,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Couple of observations on that day out thing, Mike, that you've just mentioned. First one is Alan Brazil. Fair play. He had his sunglasses on. If you'd followed Ray Parler's Twitter account, you'll know that Alan Brazil had been having a few beers, as he's been known to do with Mr. Ray Parler, just a few hours before turning up at Portman Road on Saturday. Had a heavy night, but well versed in that, I think, is Alan. So I didn't get to see the Q&A, but it was him, Walkie, Russell Osman beforehand in that tent at the back of the fan zone. So I'm sure everybody really enjoyed that. Second observation, and you mentioned the England game afterwards. Fantastic to have that big screen in the fan zone, which before the game showed some Mariner memories, which we'll get onto in a minute, and put Kieran McKenna's pre-match video up, and that was a really good little package that was going on there. But that was too loud. It was so loud that it interrupted the post-match press conferences with the managers. We couldn't hear it over the top of the Swiss national anthem that Stephen Schumacher had to stop. That was, ear-splittingly loud, that big screen. But that was a nice addition, wasn't it? That was that fan zone was something to behold before the game in the sunshine.
That's absolutely. I mean, I just, it was fantastic. Ipswich won as well, and we'll talk about that. But people pay their money to be entertained. They it's a big day out for people. It's a day out to go and watch the football, and the little extras that were put on Saturday. Well, they weren't little extras; they're more than little extras. Were, I think, credit to the club. There's clearly a bit more money floating about to be able to do this type of thing, which is just fantastic. That's what people have gone away on Saturday having had a really good time. Yes, the result was obviously key, but there was a heck of a lot that went on that day on Saturday, and I take my hat off because I thought the big screen was great, and quite frankly, it couldn't have been loud enough as far as I'm concerned. There's more noise, the better, and if you don't hear them all talking in the press conference after, then you don't hear them, because I like to have lots of noise, lots of beer flowing, lots of cheering, English national anthem, Swiss I don't care how many national anthems, fantastic. But no, I thought it was absolutely terrific, and yeah, I mean, I'd like to see that. Could you do that type of thing? Darren Bent was there, wasn't he? Darren Bent signed autographs. It turned up a bit late, apparently, so someone told me. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, it didn't matter.
I think in Darren's defence, I think there was a few problems on the A12 heading north. But
apologies then, Darren. There was a few car issues, but anyway, neither here nor there. When he did get there, there was a queue as almost as long as the hot dog stand outside the Kevin Beattie statue area. There was a huge queue to see Darren. Great, he was there signing autographs. How lovely is that? So you got legends like Brazil and Walk and Osman, and then you got more recent top men like Darren Bent there. I mean, just wonderful, great, very pleased, and of course we won, which was even better.
Yeah, thoughts on the day, Ross? There was blue shirts everywhere. That's another thing that struck me. There was, you can see how many kits they've sold this year. It was a sea of blue when I looked out across that fan zone, and we had the flags again, didn't we? In the stadium, a lovely tribute to Paul Mariner with the Blue Action Boys, doing a great job as usual with some of the banners and whatnot. What did you make of it as a day as a whole before we get onto the game?
Of course, football makes it better when it's sunshine, early spring sunshine. And yeah, as you said, a lot of people with their blue shirts, Ipswich Town shirts are out, not just, young kids, everybody wearing it. And, it's the new generation, come to watch. There'll be a few maybe going to their first ever game and to enjoy the atmosphere before the game. I did enjoy myself. It was a very nice day in the sunshine. I had my standard sausage roll and a little cheeky cup of tea before the game. Met up with a few people I know, of course, from the KOA army and just other fans and listeners of the podcast. They always come and say hello. But no, it was a good day all around. Of course, it makes it better when it is, all sunny and shining. But props to the club, making the fan zone what it is, because there were so many activities going on, so many places for them to eat, drink, enjoy their day before the big event on the pitch. And I love the tribute to Paul Mariner. And I think it was just a lovely day all around. And of course, the big thing is we won the game, so that makes it a good day all around.
Yeah, let's get onto the game, shall we? A 1-0 win against Plymouth, who, for context, came into this game on a 6-game win streak. They hadn't conceded a single goal in that time, 4th place in the table, Plymouth. And Ipswich were more than deserved 1-0 winners. It was apart from maybe one little nervy moment at the end, that was so comfortable, wasn't it? It should have been put to bed long before those last couple of minutes where the goalkeeper trotted up twice. What did you make of it?
Well, I think you made a good point in your 104 observations, Stu, that you did online Sunday morning, which I
just
always...
Just the 7 this week.
Just the 7, but I don't mind. I the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. I enjoy your observations. I always find there's a little bit of thought goes. You obviously clearly don't go straight out on the razzle on Saturday night. You put quite a lot of into this. I'm very impressed. And you made a good point about the good time to play Plymouth. Obviously with injuries and international call-ups and stuff. And I think it was a good time to play Plymouth. But play them we did, and play them off the park we did. And I heard 1 or 2 people sort of say, "Oh, what, you only won 1-0? How could you play them?" Well, you had to be there because Ipswich did play them off the park. I can't even remember. I didn't feel at any stage, even though it was 1-0, I really still didn't ever feel Plymouth were going to score. I mean, perhaps I was overconfident, and I know Oxford obviously perhaps that was a similar feeling. But I mean, this on Saturday, okay, the goalie's up for a couple of corners at the end or whatever, but still didn't. I thought it was a really, really good, for the first half particularly. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a lot of free-flowing football. I mean, Morsy was just outstanding as the game went on. He just got better and better. I thought it was a 1. I mean, 1-0.
1-0 thrashing, a bit like what they call the 78 Cup final. I mean, it wasn't quite that. It wasn't the post and woodwork being hit every few minutes, was it? But I thought, bar the first sort of 5-10 minutes where it was pretty even and you could see Plymouth were a decent football side, Ipswich increasingly got on top. The goal was coming, and when it did arrive, it only looked to be one a winner from there. But yet, we found ourselves going into the last few minutes at 1-0, and you start to think, oh, is this going to be Oxford again? How were your nerves, Ross, going into those final few minutes?
You get that horrible feeling when you see the goalkeeper go up, not just once, but twice. I thought it was a bit risky, really, for Plymouth. Like, did he go up in the 88th minute? It's like, well, it's a bit early there. Gone too soon. And then, of course, he goes up again for the second time, and you just go, come on, Town, please don't do this. But thankfully, there was no late heartbreak, and we're able to, finish the game with the 3 points. I think a lot of people will say, Plymouth, they're missing key players. International duty were injured. Connor Grant didn't play. Their defender came off injured early on. But you can't take away how good we played. Plymouth had no shots on target. We created loads. We took our chances, but we didn't score all of them. But yeah, as Mike said, Morsy's goal, well-worked goal. And that's what you like to see. I just wish we scored maybe one or 2 more just to settle the nerves a little bit. But thankfully, Plymouth couldn't find the net. And it was a bit nervy at the end, but thankfully we're able to come away with all 3 points.
Yeah, Sam Morsy, the captain, afterwards said that we ran all over them, and I think that's a pretty good description of it. Watching back the highlights since, the amount of times that Ipswich worked really good opportunities, and there wasn't necessarily chances at the end of them, but they got into so many dangerous positions time and time again. We're seeing these patterns of play that Kieran McKenna is clearly drilling into the players on the training pitch coming off. Quite a lot happens down the right, with Wes Burns playing as the highest placed right wing back, I think, in the history of football. He's basically playing as a right-sided striker, isn't he? And even though he wasn't involved in the goal, it was one of those patterns of play that's coming off. Selena with a sumptuous ball over the top, just over the halfway line, puts a little bit of backspin on it. If you look back at that, no follow through on his kick. The ball just stops lovely for Norwood, who shows great strength and composure to hold off the defender and pick out Sam Morsy. And there he is, arriving edge of the 6-yard box, John Walk-esque, dare I say, to just pass the ball into the net. And we'll come on to £1 million picks in a bit, but Andy saw this a few weeks ago, that we've got to start backing Sammy Morsy every game, and that's his second goal. And thankfully that was enough. But there could have been more, couldn't there, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about patterns of play. The patterns of play appear to be, get to the byline. That's what seems to be a lot of the play. Let's work it to the byline, pull it back. Because once you pull it back, defenders are in a pickle. They're all over the place. Is it going back? Is it going across? Is it, and that's how the goal came. Norwood, great strength. I mean, fair play to James Norwood. I thought he had a good game. He hasn't been there or thereabouts much the last few weeks. Comes in, does a real job. And this is the squad system that McKenna is introducing at this team. You see, you're not a guaranteed starter every week. A lot of, a few are at the moment, but he's going to pick what he picks. And Wes Burns flashed a couple across the box, and someone like Gary Lineker. Do you remember Gary Lineker? Well, of course you do. He's on Match of Day. You don't remember Jimmy Greaves, though, do you? But Jimmy Greaves, someone like Lineker or Greaves, 6-yard box poachers that had a hat trick on Saturday easily. And that's probably the only thing. I think McKenna actually said it, didn't he, Stu, afterwards, that he'd probably been a bit greedy. He'd liked another goal or two.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of moments. I think there was one in the second half where Morsy, who was excellent, went bursting through the middle and just delayed his pass when he had men either side. And Burns a couple of times flashed crosses through that maybe could have picked someone out. I mean, Morsy was livid a couple of times. He said in his post-match, I could have had a couple of more goals because I got into some good positions and people didn't pick me out. So they're working really good positions. They just need to add that clinical edge, because bar 4-0 at Gillingham and 3-0 against Burton, Ipswich haven't turned some of this dominance into real sort of dominant victories, have they? So is that a concern to you, Ross, that they just haven't been sort of ruthless enough to finish these games off a little bit earlier?
Yeah, well, McKenna did come out, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, saying there's going to be a smashing at some point. I'm probably quoting him wrong there. I'm sure he used a better word than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be definitely. Big thing is we beat a top 6 side. I'm sure that was going to come up in a second anyway. But I think that's another thing when you play these sort of teams, just like Oxford, we're 1-0 up, and you're like thinking, that isn't. It's not concrete, there. Thankfully, we're able to defend well, and that's main thing of this squad. How many clean sheets has been now? It's 11 clean sheets, something like that.
12 and 17 under McKenna.
Yeah,
that's
unbelievable,
remarkable, isn't it? 6 straight clean sheets at Portman Road. I have to keep reading that back to myself. That's an amazing statistic.
Yeah, and of course, Norwood was starting. Maybe a surprise for some people. Some people probably thought Bomb was going to start because of what he did at Oxford. And there's a few times where Norwood, I thought, he should have scored from there. There was a few, misplaced shots, and I was like, he should have scored from there. And of course, the second half, Wes Burns, where he could have maybe squared it to Bon and it been a tap-in for him. But it's not too concerning, but it's also like, it'd be nice just to get that second goal, just to calm the nerves a little bit for Town fans. We've been here before where we've seen late drama, late heartbreak. But yeah, that's one thing we're missing in this squad. I know there's an article on our website from the North Standard saying if we had a opponent striker, everything will be all rosy and everything. So that's the dream in the summer, having a goal scorer score goals. But thankfully, our defence is keeping us all 3 points.
This felt like a victory born out of a really good team performance. So maybe this is a little bit of an unfair question, but I'll ask you for a man of the match, because I think everybody will pick somebody different, possibly, from that were there at the game. There's certainly several candidates. Who was it for you guys? Mike, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I must confess. I mean, I know it's sort of really rather obvious of Sam Morsy, but I mean, I can't look any further because, he was just. There's an interesting relationship, isn't there, developed between Morsy and McKenna. I'm quite intrigued by this, and I think this goes back to the Manchester United days with McKenna. Now, if you go back to Manchester United days with McKenna, and when you say McKenna, you say Solskjaer, because that's really who he worked under at Man U. And of course, Solskjaer, you go back Alex Ferguson, because that's who Ferguson was a big influence probably on Solskjaer. And captains and management, relationships were massive at Manchester United, particularly Roy Keane and Alex Ferguson. I mean, that was a very strong. I know that fell out in the end, but when United were very, very successful, Ferguson relied on Keane basically to keep things in order. Now, I'm flipping it forward quite a few years, and I'm thinking that McKenna's has changed Morsy slightly since he's taken over. And there's pictures of them. There's a picture of his arm around him halfway through the game, as if you need to tell Sam Morsy too much. But it's just he's my general. He's my general on that pitch, and I want him to be, so apart from Morsy's performance, which I thought was excellent, there were lots of good performances. You asked for a man of the match. There's my man of the match. I just think there's something going on with Morsy and McKenna. I think it's a good relationship developing there. I think it's very, very positive for both, very much for McKenna, because Morsy's clearly a player who's going to say it as it is and keep players in track. I mean, he went berserk at Wolfenden and Burge, a couple of 2 or 3 players in a couple of situations on Saturday. So he's clearly got the respect of the players. He's the captain, and I like his positioning with McKenna. I think he's good for McKenna. So yeah, man of the match on Saturday was Morsy.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about having those sort of that lieutenant, that general. I'm always reminded of Graham Souness once was asked about sort of the great Liverpool managers of that era, and he said, great managers, yes, but players drive standards. Players, great teams, the players are almost self-managed themselves, or you certainly have players that drive that. And Sam Morsy looks like one of those. I mentioned him sort of berating his teammates for not picking him out in the box in the first sort of 10 minutes where it was a little bit more even. He smashed into a couple of tackles that really set the tone. And a couple of those was because teammates left passes a little bit short or didn't deal with situations, and he turned and let them know straight away. And that just kind of permeates throughout, not just teammates, but the crowd as well. So I'd agree with you. Sam Morsy, would be my man of the match. But there were others. I mean, Ross, if we take Sam Morsy out of it, who else would you give a shout to from Saturday?
Luke Wolfenden, is in a form of his life. He stepped in and made some good, he's just calm and assured, he's, as I said, he's in the form of his life. He had a good game. I think, of course, the back three, Walton, of course, made a few. He actually didn't make any saves because he didn't have a shot on target at Plymouth. Burge has been fantastic since coming in for Emerson. Janoy does what Janoy does best, consistent and does the job. Bertrand Selena, I just love watching him play. There's a few times where he nutmegged a few Plymouth players and just he had a good game. Sonny Aluko, what a man, who's in class at the moment. Even Dominic Thompson had a good game. Tariq Backerson, he's improving game by game. I'm naming every player now. I know
you've gone through the whole team, Ross. I mean, you've gone through the whole team. I mean, that's remarkable, really, to remember the team sheet just like that and go through every one of them. But fair play to you, though, Roscoe. You're absolutely right, probably in what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't pick one. I think the obvious one is Morsy because he got the match-winning goal and he had a fantastic game all around. Timing his run well and, as you said, just passed the ball into the net. But as you said earlier, Stu, it was a team performance. Everyone played their part. Even the subs, when they came on, they did all right. And I think a lot of people have picked up. McKenna only made 2 subs. Normally, he has made 3 subs, but we just didn't need that. Chaplin came on. Of course, Bond came on, did their job. I think the only thing I'm worried about is that we're just set pieces. We're just, I don't know, it's annoying me a little bit. We've got Burgess there who could come in, and Norwood in the box, even Bond in the second half. I think that's one thing we're lacking as well, is just our set pieces. If we can score from a set piece, I'll be very happy.
I agree. It feels like a long time since Ipswich scored one, or certainly have looked at a regular threat from set pieces. And yeah, Burgess, you mentioned there. I'm going to give him a little shout out because I was a bit concerned when George Edmondson got injured for the remainder of the season, and I had flashbacks to Barrow away where Cameron Burgess looked all at sea, and there were times where he was getting caught 40 yards up the pitch and looked a bit sluggish on the turn and all at sea, but he's slotted in superbly the last 3 games. He looks far more comfortable on the left side of that back three, which is what he did for Accrington before, and it's just another example of how McKenna gets the best out of individuals. I thought he was a couple of times he played some sort of long balls over the top that just drifted away, but in terms of his defending, didn't put a foot wrong. I thought he was rock solid, so I'll give him a little mention because I think he's had to really bide his time, but he's been ready. He could have let his head drop, but in he comes, just like Luke Wolfenden comes in and has taken his chance at the moment. And so yeah, a real team effort on Saturday, a big win, and as Ross said, the first win of the season against the team currently in the top 7. Yeah, so Wickham are 8th, which obviously Ipswich had done the double over those, but that was the first win against the team in the top 7 of the table. So unfortunately, all it's done is move Ipswich 1 point closer to the playoffs because Wednesday came from behind. They conceded a very early goal against Cheltenham, but came from behind to win 4-1. Nobody else in those sort of higher reaches played because of international week. So 1 point closer, Ipswich move 5 points off with 6 to play for Ipswich. Oxford, Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland and Wickham, the 4 teams immediately above, all have a game in hand. Portsmouth, 1 place behind, have 2 games in hand. How are we feeling about this? I think last week, a couple of weeks, we've been saying, I think after the Portsmouth and Oxford draws, no, that's it, too much to do now. But they just pull you back in again, don't they? With a win like that on Saturday. Is there still a chance?
Of course there is. Of course there's still a chance. 6 straight wins, 18 points. Bang. Thank you very much. We're in there. Once we're in there, we'll win it. So, yes, of course there's a chance. Oh, gosh. I don't know. They play like they were so good in that first half against Plymouth. You know, I watched them play and I think, how do you lose at Cheltenham? How did this team draw at home to Wimbledon? How did all these horrible early season results? And, you know...
The thing is, it wasn't this team, though, was it? There was no Morsy then. There was no Walton then. That was a different time. I think if you go back to those, I think it's the Cheltenham or the Burton game that you had, Louis Barry and Armando Dobra were starting those games. Very different from that time to then. I tell you what, it makes me think more about. I know we keep going back to that first month, which obviously set the tone and left Ipswich chasing their tail. And I saw Mike Turbot, regular member of the Kings of Anglia podcast, say to Ross that it just makes Oxford hurt that little bit more now. And also, I think back to Portsmouth, Macaulay Bonne getting a bona fide goal disallowed at the end there. And I think back to battering Morecambe and Cheltenham only a few weeks ago and only getting a draw. You just think, oh, what if? You know, if just 1 or 2 of those results had gone the deserved way, because they've left a few points out there, really. If you go back through, as good as McKenna's record's been, you could probably find a few more points in there, deservedly, couldn't you? I think probably the Gillingham 1-0 home game is the only game that I think Ipswich maybe got some points that they didn't deserve. But the rest of them, there's a lot more examples of games that you come away thinking they deserved more from that game. So I just wonder if we're going to be left with some what ifs looking back at some of these games, especially Oxford last weekend makes it all that little bit more of a killer, doesn't it?
Wow, I said that the season was dead in December, so yeah, I did feel like an idiot for a while because of McKenna's great start, but there has been a few hiccups along the road, unfortunate hiccups. As you said, the draws against Cheltenham and Morecambe, like we came out of those and go, how didn't we win that game? Definitely a Cheltenham game. We just think, how didn't we score against them? But yeah, we keep winning, keep playing well, and it will be a what if. What if we beat that team? What if we beat that team? and Andy said it already, it is just too much traffic, in front of us. We can't rely on these teams above us. I know we've got to play is at Wigan and Rotherham still. We just can't rely on Sheffield Wednesday to lose games. Oxford, Sunderland are above us. Wycombe, Portsmouth have got 2 games in hand. It's just too much traffic. Anyone will keep hope until it is, we can't do it, when the Fat Lady does sing. But a lot of positivity because we're playing such good football.
I'll run you through the last 6 games for Ipswich now. It's Cambridge United at home this coming Saturday, Shrewsbury away the following weekend. Shrewsbury have gone 3 straight wins, including a 3-0 win at Rotherham recently, by the way. Then it's Rotherham away, which looked like a really daunting task, but they're stuttering a little bit. 1 win in 5. That's on the Saturday of the Easter weekend. Then it's Wigan at home. That game got moved to the Tuesday night after Easter. Thank you, Sky. Crewe away, Saturday the 23rd. They're bottom. And then a home game against Charlton to finish. So I'll refer back to Sports Club Stats, who we've used quite a lot. And we use quite a lot. They give you these little percentage chances, which I think give a decent indicator. They simulate the games hundreds of thousands of times over. So 6 wins out of 6 gives Ipswich a 94% chance of finishing in the top 6. So you're right, 6 wins and Ipswich are virtually guaranteed to be in there, I would say. But then it starts to drop. 5 wins, 1 draw and a single defeat is 63%. 5 wins, 0 draws and 1 defeat drops to 40%. Then if we get to 4 wins and 2 draws, 21%. 4 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat goes right down to 9%. And then anything less than that it's not worth talking about. So that shows you the margin of error. It needs to be 5 wins minimum, probably 6. It's a near perfect finish required. But having read those 6 games out to you and knowing how Ipswich are playing, can you convince yourself that there's 5 to 6 wins in there? Mike, you said earlier that, yes. Do you genuinely believe that? Is that how positive you're feeling at the moment?
The one thing Ipswich got in their favour is they're starting to hit some really good form and they're playing very well. And if they continue to play the way they played, particularly first half against Plymouth and against Oxford, they will pick up wins. They might not win teams 3 or 4-0, but they're going to pick up 1-0 wins. Are they going to pick up 6 wins? As much as I am always the man with the optimistic head on, but obviously I think that's being rather over-optimistic, perhaps. I can see them picking up 3 or 4 wins. But as you said, that's going down to 10 or 12%. That's probably the problem. I have a horrible feeling we're just going to finish shy, which is a shame. But the way the team are playing, the only thing that slightly concerns me is, are we going to win some of these away games? Like Shrewsbury is the classic one. Shrewsbury is a classic banana skin. If you could beat Cambridge on Saturday, you'll go to Shrewsbury and draw, and you literally can't afford that. So, I hate saying it, but yes, I do still think we're going to finish up short, which is such a shame. But I can see us getting to 3 or 4 more wins, but that won't be
the big thing for me is if there was a striker that was getting into something resembling a bit of red hot form, then you can start to believe, but just haven't been able to get that finishing touch. And I think in some ways fine-tuning that top end of the pitch is it easier than sorting out the other end? I'd rather have that solid base, all of these clean sheets. How often do we talk about sort of goals and strikers win matches, but defences win titles? And that's what gives me the greatest kind of optimism for next year. It pains me to talk about next year because it's always next year, isn't it? And now we're going to be going into year 4 of League One football. And we've been here before where we've convinced ourselves that next year is, I think the club have used our time as their promo for the season tickets. But it does feel like there's substance this time, doesn't there? With the ownership, with the manager. And you can see it just with going right back to the start of this podcast. the attendances, 23 plus thousand. I think 9 games in a row where we've had 20 plus thousand crowds. You can't fool people. No amount of what we say, what everyone else says, or whatever. People come, they watch it with their own eyes. If they don't like it, they fade away, and that's what had been happening, drip, 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 over a number of years. It felt, we talked to each other in that press room. We were gazing out across that fan zone, and that sort of death by 1,000 cuts end of championship era with crowds of 16,000, where the games just all blended into one. And it just felt like those that were coming out of a sense of duty. It was almost becoming a bit of a chore. And that's backed up anecdotally by speaking to so many fans. And people are coming with a sense of anticipation and excitement and what we're going to see today. And that's great, isn't it?
It is indeed, because I know there's a few fans who are coming again for the first time after many years of not going because they were sick and tired of the football, not enjoying themselves being an Ipswich Town fan. But now they're just loving it. They're just loving the football. They're loving the day, the atmosphere, and they're entertained. I think, as Mike said earlier, you just want to be entertained when you come to football. The add-on stuff in the fan zone, and just you go and meet up with friends, have a few beers, have a burger, pre-match pie, whatever. You come and sit down, watch the game, and enjoy it, and that's what we're getting. And yeah, unfortunately, we are going to be talking about next season because it is next season. Sorry to say, folks. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but it's too much to do. But just so much positivity. I'm sure we're going to get crowds are going to be. It's going to be amazing next year. That stadium is going to be full every week. And it's an exciting time to support Ipswich Town Football Club.
Yeah, season tickets were announced on Friday, late Friday afternoon before the Plymouth game. Prices for which have been frozen, which I think is more than fair in the current climate of prices rising for everything, where gas and fuel and electricity is all rocketing. A frozen ticket price, I think, is a really good offer from Ipswich Town, especially the money they're sort of ploughing into it at the moment to improve things. I'm told that the current season ticket numbers, including the half-season tickets sold, is about 13,800. So they can really add on top of that, can't they? And if you get that higher, we could be talking about sort of close to properly packing out Portman Road with its capacity of close to 30,000 next season. They should sell like hotcakes, shouldn't they, Mike? In given everything we're discussing.
Yeah, they should do. There's no, people like entertainment and people like success will follow success. And I think Ipswich Town will, whatever happens next season, will have a successful season. It'd be lovely if they're in the Championship. That'd be fun. But if they're in League One, if we're still in League One, they're going to have a successful season next year. I've got no doubt about that. So you're buying for success, aren't you? That's what you're buying. You're going to be. There's a great opportunity to sell a lot of season tickets, keep them frozen. I mean, you look at the petrol prices. Stu, have you seen the price of petrol? I've taken photographs of my garage up the road. Has the price come down? Well, it has come down a little bit. I went down into Ipswich and took a few more photographs. They're not coming down, are they, Ross? Oh, well, you don't drive, do you? So it don't matter you. But I mean, you just take it. It's ridiculous. But no, season tickets, they're going to go really well. I'll be absolutely stunned if they don't. I mean, like you say, if you were there, there was 20 odd plus thousand there, 22,000 plus on Saturday. I mean, I know there's a good contingent from Plymouth, but most are obviously 20 plus thousand Ipswich fans must have enjoyed themselves on Saturday. Want a bit more of that every week next season. They'll go well.
I was thinking about Pester Pal. I try and always take myself back to being a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old football fan and going with my dad. And what made you want to come back? And yes, winning was always great, but sometimes it was all about the little things afterwards and maybe getting some interaction with some of your heroes and just having some heroes. And I look at the players in this team now. I mean, you would be awestruck at seeing every time Wes Burns gets the ball with his hair flowing behind him, taking off at pace down the right wing, and Sam Morsy sort of all action dynamic. And you could go through them. That there are players that I think are relatable, or accessible, that are exciting to watch, and those are all the things that get you when you're young. And we've talked about this. Ipswich were in real danger of losing a next generation of football fans. That that present company accepted, that are old enough to remember the glory years. That gets passed on, and then another generation gets sort of the late 90s and the noughties, and to kind of keep things ticking over. But there was a real danger of sort of 15 years of nothingness, that the next generation go, Dad or Mum or whoever, I don't really want to go. I don't enjoy it. Can we do something else on a Saturday? Or loads of my mates at school support West Ham, and that's only down the road now on the train by Stratford or whatever. So I'm just really pleased that there's something to kind of enthuse this next generation of supporters now.
Well, I think also, Stu, the choice of McKenna as a manager has been an absolute masterstroke. I mean, I think this is, for the first time in many years, we talk about McKenna, but McKenna's he's not the main man. I don't mean that disrespect. He's not the talking point every week. We talk about, you just said it, Wes Burns flying in the wing, Morsy in the middle, Wolfenden cool at the back. We're talking about the players again. Through some of the managers we've had over the last half a dozen, we spent all the time talking about the bloody managers and what they said and the V signs they gave to the fans and the stuff and
Paul Lambert fighting on the touchline and Paul Cook.
It was all about the managers.
Yeah,
it was all about the managers for far too long. And McKenna, with his calm, and he's a young man. He's quite calm and composed, and he's just not getting into all that. It's about, he's just going to coach his team and excite the fans through his team. His talking is done through his team, and I think I'm talking about McKenna now. I was saying we don't talk about the managers as much as I am, but joking. But we don't spend all our time talking about him. It's about the team, and yeah, that's a very big positive going forward.
Here's something I keep hearing already: is someone's going to come in for McKenna soon. We're not going to be able to keep him very long. What's your take on that, Ross?
Yeah, I've heard it a few times myself, and it can be true because it can happen. There's some managers. I think one big one is Russell Martin. He went to Swansea. He had a fantastic. Was it just one season at Milton Keynes?
Wasn't long, was it?
Wasn't long at all. And I think, of course, he's different really, because McKenna was at Man United. It was just a youth coach, or of course he was the assistant manager at Man United and stuff. But I'm not concerned for the short term, because I think he knows his project here, and I think he's enjoying his project, and I think he knows how big of a club Ipswich Town is. So I think he's here definitely for next year, and we'll see how we get on. If we have an unbelievable season, we get promoted, you just never know. There could be another team thinking, we like this guy, and they come in for him. But I think at the moment, don't be concerned. I think he's here to stay, and then just enjoy him while we can. But I think he's here to stay for the time being.
I have to say, it doesn't bother me at all, because I think he's chosen Ipswich Town very, very carefully. This was a man that knows that, he had a very, very, very good job at Manchester United. That was probably quite a comfortable job. So he's thought long and hard about when and where to jump into this, and he's chosen Ipswich Town for a reason, because of the ownership, because of the project, because of the ambition. So at the moment, I don't think a championship club could spirit him away, even if Ipswich don't go up now. Maybe further down the line he does take that step up, but great. I'm all for that, because when's the last time an Ipswich Town manager has gone on to bigger and better things? If he goes on, it will be because he's got them promoted, he's got them as a really competitive championship club again, and he's done his job, and he's left them in a better place, and he's moved on. And there's not many Ipswich Town managers that have, how many of them have gone back into work, full stop, let alone gone on to bigger and better things. So that doesn't bother me. Does it worry you at all, Mike?
No, not at the moment, not in the slightest. He looks, McKenna looks like he's got his head screwed on. He talks like someone who knows his thing. He doesn't get over carried away. He's quite sensible. He's got a very level head. He knows this is a good job for him at Ipswich Town Football Club, a very good job. He really can only succeed if he gets it right. He can really only be a winner, and he's got a lot to learn. He'll know he's got a lot to learn. I bet he's got really good advice from people as well. I bet he still speaks to Solskjaer. He'll still speak to Michael Carrick. He'll still speak to a lot of people who say, just do your time, Kieran. How old is he? 35, 36? I can't
35, yeah.
35. I mean, there's just so long ahead of his career. And this is a great opportunity to bed yourself in. We've had a streamload we've had plenty of good managers here back in the past who have used not used Ipswich Town, but Ipswich Town has helped make them. And Kieran's got a great chance for Ipswich Town to help make him over a period of time, not just over a quick one season wonder. That's not gonna make him. I think over a course of 2 or 3 seasons, then he'll still only be in his 30s. Then let's see where you are.
Absolutely. £1 million picks. We've got to talk about that. You touched on it earlier. Well, we touched on it earlier that Andy's regular punt on Sam Morsy has come in. I think we decided that we all had £50,000 to play with.
Well, to be fair, I had 100,000, but you took 50 off me because you thought it was a silly bet, didn't you?
Well, it's just as well, really, because
Well,
it was only Andy's bet that came in. His Morsy bet came in, but our 3 bets didn't.
Mine nearly did.
What was yours? Remind me.
4-1 Ipswich. 5 goals.
I think your actual bet was five or more goals, didn't you?
You're not telling me we couldn't have been 4-0 up at half time. Ross, could we have been 4-0 up at half time?
Yeah, to be fair.
There you go.
Been. Yeah.
So it was a good bet. Just didn't come off, that's all.
Okay, so you're standing by that. I mean, I don't know if you walked into the bookies and said we could have had 4 goals by half time. They're going to pay out on that logic, but that's gone. 50 grand. Ooh, down the drain. Sorry, Andy. I went for 0-0 because of the amount of clean sheets being kept by both teams. I would argue that my one was closer to yours, but I'm pleased that one didn't come off. So that's gone as well. And I think, Ross, did you go for just Macaulay Bonne anytime?
I went 1-0. That was my score, and he was going to score the goal, but he didn't start, did he? So
no.
I think I know he came on, but does that void it a little bit? Because
again, I'm not sure this conversation's going to fly in the bookmakers.
No.
He didn't start, but he did come on. Does that void it a little bit? No. Give me your money. You're not having it back. Yeah. So that's 150k down the toilet, courtesy of Messrs. Watson, Bacon, and Hall. Sorry, Andy. I've got no idea how much the Morsy one pays out and where that leaves it. I'll text you and I'll find out. And maybe we can waste a little bit more of his money on fictional money on Thursday.
We probably were up though, because I bet Morsy. What was Morsy's odds? That could have been 3 or 4 to 1.
I reckon they'll be dropping those odds.
Well, they will now. Yes, yeah. He's scored 1 goal all season. He's hardly. I'm trying to think of a goal scorer in the Ipswich team. He's hardly someone else. So that
kind of sums up where Ipswich are at the moment. He's hardly. I would say Macaulay Bonne, but yeah.
But anyway, so he's 3. So I bet he's at least 3 to 1 to score. So that'd have been we'd have got all our money back just on him doing that. So I don't think we've lost any. In fact, I think if Andy's not about at the end of the week, we should spend far more of his money, because I think.
Okay. Well, he's off all week. He's away.
Of course he is. Of course he's off all week. He's off all week. He's on some holiday somewhere, isn't he? I expect he's probably taken his £1 million picks and spending it on women and wine and song and everything else while we sit here.
Classic Hutchie.
Yeah.
He's always doing that. Well, we'll reconvene later in the week to talk about Cambridge in a little bit more detail. But is there anything else from the weekend that you feel we haven't discussed? I feel like we haven't given St Selina's final assist that wasn't an assist. The justice, the talk that deserves. How good was that? I mean, he's very different to Sonny Aluko. Sonny Aluko is very involved in the game. Everything seems to come through him, but Selina, he's not always as involved. But when he is, you just think he can do click of the fingers. He's going to do something special. And we've mentioned the pass leading to the goal, and at the end he was denied probably assist of the season. Beats a couple of men with some footwork. I think there was a little nutmeg in there, and then a gorgeous outside of the boot bending pass into the path of Wes Burns, who sadly just drilled his shot the wrong side of the post in stoppage time. But there's going to be a real clamour to get Zanti signed up be it on loan again or a permanent come the summer, isn't there?
I think we've also forgotten to mention about the extraordinary excitement for the last kick of the game. Who was it who punted the ball towards it? Selena? Chaplin, was it? Wow. I mean, that was worth the... I said to Hutchie was sitting there, well, still, you two were still eating your Cadbury cream buns, whatever you had at half time. But anyway, you just about finished them. And it was Chaplin, wasn't it? The goalie was up. And it's completely whack. He smashed it as hard as he can. It's going towards the north stand end. The goal, the Sir Alf Ramsey's end, and going towards the goal. And there we all are. And it's crawling, but it was never going to quite make it, was it, with the goal?
That might have been the most long-range goal I've ever seen. It was a good... I mean, he was not far outside of his own box, was he, when he hit it? It was never going to get there, but it provided a bit of entertainment as the ball sort of trickled and their man came racing back, and he got there with about 10 yards to spare.
Perfect finale to a perfect day. That would have been, wouldn't it, if that had gone in?
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll take the 1-0. We'll take the win. It felt like a really important one, a real big step in the right direction, because Ipswich had just been the nearly men in these bigger games, hadn't they? And it just felt, as good as things had been under McKenna, that was a hurdle they needed to overcome. And I think that will give them a bit of belief going into these future games against Rotherham and Wigan, that yes, we've done it. We know we can do it. So we'll see. Whatever happens over these next 6 games, the future's looking bright. It was a really enjoyable game for so many reasons on Saturday. And I think that's probably it for today, unless there's any other business that you two have got. Any business?
Of course, we've got to plug some podcasts. And,
yes, Ross. Stuff. I've got a big note in front of me that we talked about beforehand. Thank you. Right,
excuse me, you told me off for that last week. You told me off. You said Mike's done the outro. Oh, once again, he's forgotten to do the Manscaped thing. And when we were off pod, you phoned me up and you said, if you do that again, you're not coming on the pod again. Do you remember?
I did, didn't I? Yeah.
You had a right go at me, and I had to go back to my wife because she said to me, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Well, because you just had a go at me about Manscaped." She said, "What's Manscaped?" And I said, "You don't want to know." I said, "So anyway, you carry on." Sorry, just thought I have to say that.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. You're spot on. I've done what I told you off for not doing, and that is plugging our sponsors, who are manscaped.com. You know all about manscaped.com now. Did you tell your good wife that it's male grooming?
Well, no, I said yes, I did. I said it's male grooming. She said, "Well, you need some of that." She said you've got a little bit of hair behind in your ear. I said, "Have I?" I did, which I didn't realise. But so with that, she then got one of her tweezer things and plucked it out and said, "Get onto Manscaped." So I've got to go and get something now.
Well, my 6-year-old daughter just suddenly, out of nowhere, told me, "Daddy, you've got hairs up your nose over the weekend." So I think I think they're called the Weed Whacker, aren't they? We decided that's the nose trimmer. So I think I might have to invest in one of those. And if I do, I will be using KOA at checkout to get myself a cool 20% off. So get yourself there. That's one of my better plugs, wasn't it, for Manscaped? I normally just say, go on there, do that. So manscaped.com, tick. All right, I'm going to write that little tick next to it. Next on my list is Ipswich Town Women. Ross, you are our Ipswich Town women's expert. It was a double header against Plymouth this weekend, wasn't it? The men did the business, did the women.
They did, with an extra goal to boot, 2-0 win. Goals from Eva Hubbard and Eloise King to get all 3 points and cement ourselves still top of the league table. Southampton won on the weekend, so boo. But no, it was another good day all round. And yeah, it wasn't the greatest game to watch, but it was a nice, good 3 points. Job done. Move on to the next one. Of course, next week, or this Sunday, is Southampton, part 4. So that will be an interesting game. That could settle the league table, but no, good to see both teams winning against Plymouth.
Was that was at the Gold Star, was it?
Yeah.
And what was the crowd like, sort of post the big FA Cup attendance?
Now, unfortunately, because it was Mother's Day, I think a lot of people probably decided, I like to support the women's team, but also I do want to spend time with my mum. So I think that's what. So it's 274 there, but it's not too bad, crowd wise, because it was Mother's Day and nice day. All round in Suffolk, but hopefully Southampton, there'll be another 4 figures for that one, because I think that is another one we want to get a good crowd for.
Is that
Good
at home?
stuff.
Is that at Felixstowe again?
Yeah.
So Southampton at Felixstowe this weekend.
Yeah.
Very, very good. How many more games the ladies got then?
5 more games.
What do you think of putting your hand up? We're on audio. You can't put your hand up with a number, you nana. What was that? I didn't even know what it was.
5.
5. High
And
five.
it's Southampton this weekend.
Yeah.
So that's basically the title decider at home this weekend.
Pretty much, I say.
On Sunday, what time's kickoff?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Right. We'll give a little bit of we'll give this more of a plug over the course of the week, but get yourselves down to the Gold Star on Sunday. Give the women all of your support, because as big as that FA Cup game was, this one's bigger, Ross. Right? I mean, you'll go into a bit more depth in your Ipswich Town women's podcast later in the week. But yeah, for those that haven't listened to that, I'm going to give that a good plug here, because I didn't realise that. I thought that was last game of the season, but if that's this Sunday, that's huge, isn't it?
It's massive. We've played each other 3 times already. It's been 1 defeat, 2 wins. Of course, one of the wins was in the FA Cup, but we beat him in the league early in the season. But yeah, we need to win this, because Southampton, annoyingly, they've got a lot of games in hand. So if we win and they go and win their other games at hand, then it will go to the final day, but it will be decided on Sunday. So if you're free, the men are at home on Saturday at Cambridge, so enjoy that. But then if you're free on Sunday, come down.
Fantastic. And there's one more plug on behalf of our absent king, Andy Warren, and that is a fine interview that he has done with Ipswich Town defender Luke Wolfenden. Andy sat down on StreamYard as we are talking now, down our camera lenses, to chat about his sort of Lazarus rise back to being a key man for Ipswich Town. And there's a lot of chat in there about how he found life very, very frustrating under Paul Cook. I won't give too much away, but Andy's done a great job speaking to Luke over the course of about half an hour last Friday afternoon. That will be available to watch, to listen to read as well, because Andy's written that up. So whatever platform suits you best, have a look out for that on Monday. So it'll be Tuesday morning. That'll be available for you. So keep a little eye out for that one. That's a
good plug, Stu. That's really, really well done. That was. I like.
Thank you, mate. I'm getting a little bit better at these ones. I mean, I don't think Mark's going to be worrying himself too much while he's on his treadmill in the Caribbean at the moment, listening to these. Mark, if you're listening, and I know you are, I hope you're having a wonderful time. I'm very, very jealous looking at his pictures. I think I might have to renegotiate my wages looking at the lifestyle he's living at the moment. But yes, Mark, you've got us one more time this week, and then normal service, I think, is resumed when Mark's back. I think he's only away for 1 week, has he got a fortnight?
Oh, he's got weeks, mate. He's got absolutely weeks. I don't know when he's back. It could be. I think it's sometime in June he's back or something. I don't know. He builds them all. He's got loads of holiday. He gets more holiday than the rest of us. He's like, there's more holiday than Santa Claus. It's an old one, isn't it? It's a bit of an old joke, that Santa Claus. Ross, yeah. Santa Claus only sort of works on Christmas Day. So do you get it? No, don't matter.
Yeah. All right. See you later, everyone.